Okay, everyone, thanks for joining. Anyone that doesn't know who I am, I'm Larry Middleman. I'm the State Director of Instruction. And the two topics for tonight were as a result of a poll that was placed to coaches in the state of Maryland. And originally, this was going to be set up to be a webinar just for coaches, but I figured it would be best to have coaches and referees on at the same time to be more of a collaboration and better understanding. So first thing, I'm going to put a poll up that's going to ask you if you are a coach or a referee or an administrator. You can select more than one. If you're only a mentor, just put that under the referee column. So I'm going to put the poll up now. Is the poll visible? No?
No.
Okay. How about now? Okay.
There you go.
Now, I forgot to relaunch it after we practiced. All right, looks like everyone's answered. So we got mostly referees, 18 out of 20 are referees, only 3 coaches. Okay, so first topic will be advantage. First, we'll talk about what the law says, which probably everybody is aware of. Then we'll talk about the things to consider, what the referee has to consider before making an advantage call. So this is what the law actually says. You can read it. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. But the next question becomes, what are the factors that make calling an advantage a benefit? And that's the key to the whole thing. So what does the referee have to consider to decide if the advantage should be applied? Okay, the number one thing is the severity of the offense. If it's a red card offense, the referee should stop play unless there is a clear opportunity to score a goal, which means the next touch is going to be a shot on goal, whether it be from the player that was fouled or the ball goes almost immediately to a teammate. So if the offense occurs inside the penalty area, it's best for the referee to wait and see what happens. Right? Somebody needs to mute themselves. Wait and see what happens rather than giving the play on signal. The next thing to consider is the atmosphere of the match. Is it calm? Is it a heated match? A lot of fouls, a lot going on. Then the referee might not want to give advantage because it may influence match control. But where on the field did the offense occur? Obviously, the closer to the opponent. Somebody needs to mute themselves, please. Obviously, the closer to the opponent's goal, the more likely the referee would give advantage. In other words, the defensive third of the field, the midfield, or the attacking third. Which way is the play facing when the foul occurs? Are they facing their own goal or are they facing the opponent's goal? What is the chance for a promising attack, which might result in a shot at goal? Having the chance of a shot at goal does not make or break an advantage decision. The skill level of the players or the team, can they sustain an attack or do they always lose the ball after one or two passes? How many defenders are still in front of the fouled attacker or in front of the player that got the ball from the fouled attacker? How much space does that player have in front of them? Did the fouled player complete a pass to a teammate? Or did the fouled player maintain possession and have space and the number of defenders being low? So in youth games, even if it's a perceived high level, the referee should observe the team's ability in the first 10 minutes of the game to see if they can sustain attacks. Can they move the ball down the field, or do they lose the ball after a few passes? This will impact any possible advantage decisions. So make sure you understand the use of advantage. Be aware of all the things to consider to whether a situation is really an advantage. Observe the teams in the beginning stages of the match. Now I have 7 clips to go through. 6 of them are from youth games, and 1 is from a professional or international women's game. I use that because it illustrates an advantage point, and I couldn't find anything in a youth game to illustrate it. So before we go into the clips, and I'll look at the chat in a second to see if some people might have questions. It takes for coaches and referees, probably already know this, it takes a lot of games to get very proficient at making a decision about an advantage call. I had to go through hours and hours of video to find 6 clips. So we're all U16 boys. Well, one U15, the rest U16. So for a referee to get really good at making advantage calls, they have to referee a whole lot of games because they're not going to see these situations in every game they do, maybe not even every 5th game they do. And if they're doing younger players and then they step up to an older age group and the situation arises, they haven't had the experience to see those situations to get really, really good at it. So just the coaches should keep that in mind when they're watching games and they see a situation that to them looks like advantage and the referee doesn't give it, or the other way around. It just could be from a lack of experience by the referee, the number of games they've done. Let me look at the chat here. Oh, it was just people saying they didn't see the poll. Okay. So if anyone has a question before I go into the clips, put it in the chat real quick and I'll answer it. Okay, so as a preface to these 6 youth game clips, none of them have a foul that is serious enough to stop the game. None of them occur in the penalty area. And all of these games, the atmosphere of the game was not intense. The number of fouls in all these games was just average. And so the atmosphere of the game doesn't come into play either. And all of these clips come from I think it was 2015 Eastern Regionals. So these are pretty highly skilled teams. So all of those factors, I'm not going to go over in each clip because they're common to all of them. Okay, so let's. Can everyone see the? Okay, so I'll start it over. The red team is attacking to the left. I'm going to play it all the way through, and then I'll play it again, and I can explain why I say this is a good advantage or not, and then look for comments. There's the advantage.
Larry, we can't see the clip.
You can't see it? Hold on. It says I'm sharing my screen. Okay, just a second. I think I know what's wrong. Okay. How about now?
It's not seen.
You still can't see
Can't
it?
see it. No,
It's not seen. It's not seen.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm going to start it over. Okay, remember, red is attacking to the left. Okay, there's the advantage. All right, I'll stop it there. Okay, so in this clip, the red, at the moment of the foul, the red team was facing their own goal, which lowered the chance of a promising attack. It occurred in the midfield. The number of defenders was reasonably high. I'll play it again and stop it at the. Okay, so the foul was there. There's the completed pass. 1, 2, 3, 4 defenders. So the option that this player has that got the ball is pretty much to go backwards. Remember, they're attacking this way. This player can turn and has space going this way, but it's negative direction. So in this case, this was not a good advantage for all of those reasons. I'll play it through again. Okay. Anyone have any, let's see what the chat says. Okay, question, how long is the advantage played for? The law book says a few seconds. So it's really the referee's judgment. In this particular clip, the referee could have, as soon as he saw that the advantage really wasn't there, he could have blown the whistle and brought it back to the original foul. But he let it play through. And there really was no advantage to give to begin with for all the reasons I said. Facing their own goal, not really a good chance of a promising attack. Defenders, 3 defenders around the player with the ball. And his really only option was to go backwards, to go negative. Any other comments in the chat? I think everyone would agree that this was not a good advantage. All right, I will move on to the next one. Can you see this?
I'm not seeing.
Okay, can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have to do it a little different than I thought. Okay, so in this clip, the yellow team is attacking to the left. There's the foul, there's the advantage. Okay, so in this clip, it's obvious it's in the attacking third, which is a positive. Yellow is facing their opponent's goal. They do have a good chance of a promising attack. The number of defenders is plus minus, but because it's so close to the penalty area and the player that receives the ball after the foul does have some space here. This defender is far enough away so that this attacker can pick up his head and gauge his options. And he does have some space. So when I play it through, He does get a pass into the penalty area. It's a good defensive play. So we can't, as referees, we can't bring that back because it did create a promising attack, even though that last pass didn't get. It says, can you play the video without the slow motion first? I didn't think I was playing with slow motion. Okay, any comments on this one? So this was a pretty good advantage. Okay, in this clip, the red team is attacking to the right. There's the advantage. I'll play it again. I'm gonna stop it at the. Okay, so again, red's attacking to the right. It's in the midfield. They're facing the opponent's goal. They do have, there's only the player that received the ball from the player that got fouled. There's one defender there. And a reasonable amount of space in front of him. So this did create a promising attack. There was a completed pass. The player that received it had plenty of space, not too many defenders. The defenders are backtracking toward their own goal. And the referee can't be blamed that the cross was not a good one in the end. So this was a good advantage. Even though it was quite a distance from goal, red was facing the opponent's goal. They had plenty of space, not a lot of defenders, and it did end up in the possibility of a shot on goal, even though the cross was not the best. Any comments on this one? Okay, let's see. see it? Hopefully. Okay, red is attacking to the left in this one. I'll play it through again. Okay. The foul was there, and there's the advantage given here to the red player that maintains possession of the ball. Okay, so in this one was in the in the attacking third, the edge of the midfield in the attacking third. The player maintained possession of the ball, the player that was fouled, and had space in front of him with actually no defenders in front of him after he maintained possession of the ball. Again, he was able to get off a cross into the penalty area, and the referee can't be faulted that it was not a good one. Yeah. Actually, it did go to a teammate, and that teammate had a bad first touch, so the attack ended at that point. So even though it didn't end up in a shot, at the moment the advantage was given, this was a good advantage. Any comments on this one? Okay, this clip, we have white is attacking to the goal on the right. There's the foul and the advantage. Okay, so this was in the midfield. Let me play it till the spot of the foul. There, well, close to the, really the attacking third, okay? The player maintained possession of the ball. There is some space in front of him, so he does have options to move the ball to the left, to the right. He has teammate here. He has a teammate making a run here. So he dribbles into open space, has a teammate there, and has a play back here. Can't tell if there's a player out here to the right. Okay, but again, this was a pretty good advantage at the moment the foul occurred. And the referee can't be blamed that this attacker made a bad choice and didn't play the ball here or out here to this player making a run, and chose to turn into the defense, into three opponents. And then takes a shot that had a low percentage of getting to the goal. So again, at the moment the referee had to make a decision on this one, I think this was the correct decision. once again, the referee can't be blamed for poor choices by the player afterwards. Any comments on that one? Okay, and this is the last youth game clip. White is attacking to the left. I'll play this one again. Okay, there's the foul. It's in midfield. Ball goes to a teammate that has a lot of space, and the defenders are further upfield, but immediately the advantage does not materialize. So in this clip, the referee actually calls this one back to give the free kick. However, if you look, the foul is here, which is about between 8-9 yards back from the halfway line. If I play it through, you can see where they end up taking the free kick from. About 15 yards further upfield, a few yards different is fine, but 15 yards shouldn't have been in this case. The referee needed to pay more attention to the spot of the foul. But this was, at the moment of the foul, it was a good advantage because the ball went to a teammate that had plenty of space and not very many defenders in front of them. But it didn't materialize because the next touch on the ball was not a really good one. So I think the referee correctly brought it back, although the free kick didn't take place from the correct spot. Any comments on that one? Okay, so this next one is from an international women's game. Fine. Can you see this? Can everyone see this? I hope. Was everyone able to see that one? Somebody give me a thumbs up if you were able to see it. Okay. Okay. I'm not sure if it was clear what happened there. I will play this again. Okay, there was a foul there for sure. The referee gave advantage. Not sure, it's not 100% if there was another foul there. And the ball is played forward to this teammate. But that teammate was offside. She came from an offside position and collected the ball. We're not going to argue whether it was or was not offside, but that was the call that was made. That's the player that was fouled. Okay, so this one was in the midfield. Not 100% whether there was a second foul or not, but the first foul, the player that was fouled maintained possession of the ball. She had space and she played it forward to a teammate who turned out to be called for offside. So I don't know how, those of you who are referees, I don't know if you've ever faced this situation before. And so, but for everyone, because that player that received that pass was called for offside, the advantage did not materialize because of the offside. So this should have been brought back to the spot of the foul. And if I remember right, when this plays through, the referee in this game gave the offside and did not bring it back. But that's a situation that can happen. And the offside negates the advantage, so it should be brought back to the spot of the original foul. Any questions or comments on that one? Any questions or comments in general about offside, advantage decisions? There's a number of people on here I know have a lot of experience, and I'm sure you can remember back when you first started, it took a while to get skilled to be able to process all those factors at the moment of a foul to decide whether that's a good advantage or not. So for the coaches that are on this, just keep that in mind when you're watching your games and you think the referee should or shouldn't have given advantage in a particular situation. It's a lot to process, and it takes a lot of games to get skilled at. Okay, so if there aren't any other comments on this, we'll go into the second part, which is sanctioning of team officials. Okay, so most of what is going to be on this PowerPoint is wording taken directly from the laws of the game, and we can discuss it, and you can unmute yourself and ask questions rather than use the chat along the way. So the first thing to keep in mind is that if an offense is committed by someone that's in the technical area, whether it be a coach, assistant coach, trainer, a substitute, a player that's already been substituted in a limited substitution game, or a player that's been sent off that's still sitting on the bench because they're a youth player, and the referee does not know who the offender was, the senior team coach or official will receive the sanction, whether that be a warning, a caution, or a send-off. Also, everyone should be aware that in Maryland, sanctioned games and tournaments, when spectators act irresponsibly, the most senior team official will be sanctioned accordingly. So everyone should have, when you should have seen the details on this in a couple of emails, and when you go to recertify, you'll see a lesson about the details on this. But the referees are to assume that if a spectator acts out of line, it's as if the coach acted out of line and is sanctioned accordingly. Caution, warning, or send-off. So this is what the law book says about warnings. Entering the field of play in a respectful, non-confrontational manner. So technically, no one is supposed to enter the field without the referee's permission. So if a team official enters the field of play without permission, but all they want to do is ask a question and it's non-confrontational, the law book says that's a warning. You know, coach, please don't come on the field without my permission. If you want to ask me something, I'll come over to the bench and you can ask me. Okay, failing to cooperate with a match official. The best example of that would be in games where the assistant referee keeps asking for space and someone from the technical area keeps coming all the way up to the touch line, impeding the assistant referee or blocking their vision. So if the assistant referee keeps asking and doesn't get cooperation, the law book says that's a warning. It would be the same thing on the spectator side. If the spectator did it, the coach would get a warning. So minor low-level disagreement, you know, things like somebody shouting out referee, or, you know, call it both ways, or that was soft, comments like that, if they're just a quick reaction to what you see on the field, that could be a warning. A lot of referees will just ignore that if it's, you know, every once in a while in the game. Okay, occasionally leaving the technical area without committing another offense. Sometimes coaches aren't aware that they've left the bench area. They do it inadvertently, but if they keep doing it, that could be a warning. Okay, cautions, yellow cards. Clearly, persistently not respecting the confines of the technical area. Example might be a team official consistently wants to leave the bench area and go all the way down to the penalty area to give instructions to the team. If they do it once, referee says, coach, stay in the technical area. If they keep doing it, that's grounds for a yellow card. Delaying the restart of play by their own team. Usually might happen, obviously, towards the end of the game. Doubt it would happen in the beginning of the game. Deliberately entering the technical area of the other team in a non-confrontational manner. Don't know why that would happen, but it's in the law book. Dissent, which includes throwing or kicking drink bottles or other objects. That's not throwing them onto the field. It's just like slamming it onto the ground or something like that. And back to under warnings, if it's low-level dissent, but it happens continuously, then that falls under this dissent by word or action. Caution. If it's every third or fourth call, then that is not low-level dissent. Clear lack of respect for the match. That's a pretty nebulous phrase. I'm not sure exactly what kind of example I could give you for that. I guess you'll see it if you'll know it if you see it. Okay. They're giving an example of sarcastic clapping as lack of respect for the match. Additional reasons for cautions: persistently or excessively gesturing for a red or yellow card, acting in a provocative or inflammatory manner. In other words, flailing your arms, stomping up and down the touch line, that would be provocative. Repeated warnings should end up in a yellow card or caution. Lack of respect for the game. Send-offs. Delaying the restart by the opposing team. For example, holding onto the ball, kicking the ball away, obstructing the movement of a player, an opposing player. That's a send-off. Deliberately leaving the technical area to show dissent towards or remonstrate with a match official. So, which includes halftime. Halftime doesn't mean that you don't need permission. A coach doesn't need permission to come on the field. They do. Too many times I've seen, and a lot of people have seen, the coach wants to march out into the center circle at halftime. And if it's just a question, it goes back to a warning. If it's a confrontation, the law book says that's a red card. But the problem is, if the coach leaves the technical area and starts walking towards the center circle, the referee doesn't know if it's just a question or if it's going to be a confrontation. Obviously, if they're, running at full speed out there and yelling it while they're moving, it's a confrontation, but you don't always know. So as the referees, what we're trying to teach is if a coach starts coming toward the center circle, especially at halftime, you tell them you'll be happy to talk to them, but it needs to be off the field, and try and get them to move off the field. Entering the opposing technical area in an aggressive or confrontational manner. Deliberately throwing, kicking an object onto the field, as opposed to under caution, just throwing an object like slamming it onto the ground. If you throw it onto the field, the law book says that's a red card. Okay, this is what I was just talking about. And if it's a confrontation at the end of the game, that could still result in a red card. Interfering with play, an opposing player, or a match official. Physical aggressive behavior, including spitting or biting against pretty much anybody. Opposing player, substitute, team official, match official, spectator, any other person. Receiving a second caution. Using offensive, insulting, or abusive language. Violent conduct. Questions or comments? Again, any of those things done by a spectator, the referee is to assume that it was done by a team official, a coach, and deal with it accordingly. Okay. Nobody has any questions, comments? I'm going to try and send out another poll to coaches and referees to see what other topics you'd like to see covered in webinars like this. So we can, try and have them monthly or every other month. I think it's a good platform. So if there's no other questions or comments, if you know, this is being recorded, and I will get access to the recording from MSYSA probably tomorrow or the next day, and I'll let everybody know the access. So if you know other people who you think could benefit from this, they could get the benefit of seeing the recording. Jim, you have a question? Unmute yourself.
So yes, good evening, everyone. So if I'm AR2, my back is to the spectators. In some games, it's like that. I don't know which team that spectator or group of spectators is affiliated with. It may not be totally obvious. What do I do?
Okay, so when we developed the guidelines for dealing with that, we did struggle with that situation, but most of the time, if it's, as an AR, if it's an offside decision, if a spectator thought you should have called offside, or you did and shouldn't have, you'll pretty much know which team they're affiliated with based on the fact that they're criticizing you over that decision. There will be situations where you might not know, and then you might have to tell the referee to get both coaches to warn the spectators. But we figured in most cases it would probably be obvious. You don't have to identify the specific spectator, but if you put a flag up for an offside and someone yells at you that it wasn't offside, you know that they were affiliated with the team that you just penalized, pretty much. Does that make sense?
Good point. Yeah, it does make more sense. Good point.
It's not 100% that you'll know all the time, but I think the great majority of the time you'll know.
Thank you.
Yep. Let's see, there's somebody in the chat. Just people saying thank you. Okay, you're welcome. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Everybody have any? Tom Rafferty, do you have your hand up or are you just stretching? You're just stretching. Okay, everyone have a good evening. Hopefully we'll see you on another one of these in another month or two.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're
sir.
welcome.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you again, Larry.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Good
welcome.
night.
Thank you, Mr. Middleman. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Larry.
Larry.
Good
Yep,
night.
welcome.